Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Blaster Breakdown. Today I'm going back to basics with a simple flywheel mod. The Nerf Fortnite SMG is now available at a decent price in Australia, often around the $20 to $30 mark. Of course, as a stock blaster in Australia, it's limited to 50 FPS. Today I'll show you how I took this up to 140 to 150 FPS, perfect for SuperStock events where 150 is the cap. I'll show you how I replaced the flywheel cage, wheels and motors with inexpensive options, rewired for a 2S LiPo, and made this blaster a really competitive option for SuperStock events. Of course, this blaster is similar in size and similar internals to the Stryfe, but it's all a little bit different. Let's have a look inside. Okay, so these are all the parts I'm going to need to upgrade this stock Fortnite SMG from a 50 FPS toy to a very respectable 150 FPS SuperStock beast. So I've got a worker plastic cage, 42.5mm straight. There's the motor screws. So pretty simple, basic cage. The black smooth wheels are have 34.5mm inner diameter at the narrowest point. So that'll give us 42.5 minus 34.5 is an 8mm crush in between, which will give us a good amount of crush without being too damaging on the darts. That should give us pretty close to that 150 FPS. For motors, I'm going to use Neo badges from Blaster Tech. So these are the new upgrades, I guess, from the old Honey badges. Quite similar specs to the Fang revamps, depending on your location. Fang revamps might be a cheaper option. Neither motor are particularly expensive, but that's what I've got today. I've got a MOSFET with the diode and resistor. They're cheap components. You can buy those in bulk for a couple of dollars each. And XT30 connector. Just need the male end because, of course, my LiPo has the female end. Just keep that together. So these motors were under $10 each. The wheels were $10 for the pair. I think the cage might have been $11. So this is a very, very inexpensive upgrade for the Fortnite SMG. So as mentioned before, this is like a mirror image of the Stryfe because for whatever reason, Hasbro put everything on the opposite side. So, okay, so that's what I'll do first. Pull it apart and we'll have a look inside. Okay, so do not adjust your sets. That's the right side of the shell. Nothing there. So we're not in the upside down. That's how it really looks. And now, of course, that means I'm going to lose all my screws and everything when I flip this over. Not too many of them. Okay, so standard setup, flywheels, the usual switches, rev trigger down here. Let's just get rid of these orange bits. Oh, that's stuck in there. All right. So using a MOSFET, we'll keep the original rev trigger. That'll be the signal. Then higher gauge wire, 18 gauge wire between the battery tray in here and the new flywheel cage, which will be upside down of course. So motor's facing up. Otherwise, it's a very standard semi-auto flywheel upgrade. We'll get rid of this lock at the same time, get rid of the jam door lock too, and of course make space inside the battery tray for our LiPo. So that won't be too difficult at all. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start pulling this one apart now. Trigger, pusher, keep those together, bin those. Put this back on for neatness. A little wire channel there. Okay, so this much will go in the bin. I'll go about reattaching these bits here. The MOSFET I could probably fit in the back somewhere there, out of the way. Down low, that'll be out of the way of the trigger and the pusher. It's a good place. Okay, so I'll cut these off. I'll only need the white and the blue for the rev trigger to the battery and the MOSFET, and it'll only be the wires to the flywheels going up through here. I think I can use that channel again. So I'll do some cutting and some grinding and some wiring, and we'll check back in. Okay, so I've put in the motors and the wheels into the flywheel cage, wired up my red and black wires, so now that sits in really neatly like that. In fact, I can just go ahead and screw this down now. So this worker cage fits well, perfectly in here. So when I close this up, you see it covers it nicely, and that bit goes over. So so you can see that this worker cage fits in perfectly, matches the screw posts exactly, which is great. Then I can run my cables without trouble. This should just slot in. I need a bit of slack there. Yep, that's all super neat, super clean. Excellent. Okay, so now I need to work on the battery tray. Next I can just grind out here, make space for the LiPo, and then a hole for the XT60 to fit in there, and we're just about done. So on the other side here, I've pulled out the terminals, battery terminals at each end, and smoothed down in between, so my LiPo will sit nicely like so, and that'll close up really well. So that's good. Made a bit more space in the top here, so I'll poke my wires in like so, and then have the XT30 connectors down this end. So I'm just going to, before I finalize any of that, I'll put the trigger and pusher assembly back together. So we've removed the locks here, so the only thing stopping our trigger being pulled now is the lock for the rev trigger, so we can't pull the trigger, can't try and fire a dart unless the flywheels are going. That's good, and our pusher spring there, and then lever there. Alright, so these ones we want down here, there's little notches that they sit in, which we can reuse, and then up here the red will be out of the way in there, and the black so there's nothing involved at the back here, so that can just go across here, and I'll still go with the idea of having the MOSFET in there, so that's all good. So the white end of this trigger is going to go to the signal pin, that's the left hand one on the MOSFET, and this blue one we need to hook into the positive. So I might just attach that up here and put a bit of shrink wrap before the positive goes down into the battery tray, so we've only got one wire on the inside. That'll be an easy little job. Then I can cut my other wires and wire up to the MOSFET. So quickly, MOSFET gets a resistor across the outside 2 pins, and then we need a diode between the positive and the negative. I'll put that in place when I wire up the blue as well, so that ensures that when the flywheels are winding down after firing a dart, after we've released the trigger, no current goes through the MOSFET the wrong way. So okay, I'll do that up here. I'll connect the blue and the red. I'll cut the black to the right length, and I'll wire it up to the correct pins, and then we'll be able to do a test before wiring up our connector. Okay, this won't take long. Okay, so here we are, MOSFET wired up. We've got the resistor across the outer 2. The left hand comes from our rev trigger, which joins up the blue, which is connected to the battery positive. The middle one comes from our flywheels, and the right hand one goes back to the battery. So that's all wired up. I haven't put the heat shrink on just yet. I've already tested this with AA batteries, but just to final check with the LiPo plugged in, we can hear that's going nicely, and make sure we got the motors around the right way. There it goes. Okay, so let's tidy this up, and we'll have one final look before we put it all together. Okay, here we are. This is all ready to go together now. You can see that none of this wiring is going to obstruct the pusher, so that's all as neat as it needs to be. So I can go ahead and put this all back together now. Jam door, this little thing there. Where does that go? On the back probably. Yeah, that looks like it. muzzle at the front. Okay, I actually need to loosen this. So I need to loosen this to fit the muzzle in. Okay, that's all in place now. Okay, so that's sitting in place nicely. How does this bit go? Around that way. Something like that. Yeah, that seems right. That seems right. That seems right. I think all these screws are pretty much the same length, which is handy. So and of course I've lost one. Well, if you've seen any of my latest videos, one thing you'll know I'm not short on is Phillips head screws. So okay, there we are, that's all back together. It all works. We'll do our final check. Okay. Alright, so just need to attach my male XT30 end to here, and that'll all sit nicely. Last job. And here we are. So this is all put together now. It's going well, so yep, that's all working good. Let's take this outside and get some cranny numbers, I think. Okay, so here we go, testing the Nerf Fortnite SMG with the Worker 42.5 clear plastic cage, smooth back wheels, Neo Honey Badger motors, running on a 2S Lipo. So you got a cool little purple thumb screw there. I'll be using 3 types of darts. We've got regular Fortnite Elite darts, Adventure Force waffles, and Worker full-length reds. So 10 of each, put them over the chrony and see what we get. First of all, Elites. Next, Adventure Force waffles. And last of all, Worker red full lengths. So there you go, FPS is pretty much what we expect, 140 plus, perfect for SuperStocks with a 150 FPS cap. So the next thing we'll do is a accuracy test. Okay, here we are for an accuracy test. As usual, I'm 50 feet from the target. Again, I'll be using 3 dart types, Fortnite Elites, Adventure Force waffles and Worker full-length reds. 10 shots of each. Let's see how we go. I think the only one that hit the target was a misfire. A few went on the roof, so that's elites for you. Adventure Force waffles next. Dead straight. And Worker reds. Right, so there you go. The Worker reds and Adventure Force waffles, obviously much more accurate than elite darts. That's not surprising to anyone. Both of those type went dead straight pretty much. The only thing I needed to adjust was elevation, whereas the elite darts were, well, as you'd expect, some went on the roof, some went over the fence. That's elites. So there you have it. That's the Nerf Fortnite SMG-E, now a top-performing SuperStock blaster, sitting within that 150 FPS cap common to many SuperStock events. Please leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.